Hi, my name is Robert. This video is designed to give you step-by-step detailed instructions on completing the task at hand. Please read the comments in the About section of this video. It has valuable information and updates. My YouTube channel has a disclaimer video that I encourage you to watch. And please like, share, and subscribe. I hope you found what you're looking for. Thank you very much for watching. Back on this 1996 BMW, I think it's a 318i. It has an alternator that has failed, so this video is going to be showing you how to replace the alternator. The guy was driving the vehicle home. It stalled out because it ran out of power. Got it towed home, replaced the battery, fires up, starts great, but it does have a battery light that glows very dimly. So we're going to go ahead and replace the alternator. We got the Bosch replacement. Alternator is built with the Valeo regulator. This vehicle has the 5-speed manual. I'm gonna go ahead and fire it up so you can see if the battery light glows here for us. Not really glowing right now. I don't see a voltage regulator. Let me see if I have a voltmeter on my scan gauge. See if my scan gauge even fits this vehicle. Scan gauge did connect. Let's fire it up, see what the voltage reading is. It's charging okay right now, so it's likely an intermittent problem, which is never good with an alternator. So let's go ahead and get it replaced. See it bouncing around just a little bit. The process is going to be disconnecting the battery, moving your throttle control cable, removing your airbox, taking your serpentine belt off, then unbolting the alternator connections, removing the alternator, and then reverse that procedure. First thing I'm going to do is come in the trunk, disconnect the negative and then the positive on the battery. I disconnect the positive because the positive runs a wire straight to the starter and then from the starter straight to the alternator, and if you hit a ground while you're taking that alternator positive off, you'll short it out. So go ahead and disconnect both of these wires. 13mm negative and positive. Insulate the connectors so it can't connect while you have your head turned. So I'm going to go ahead and plug this in here, protecting it from reconnecting. Next I'm going to disconnect this throttle assembly module here, 2 10mm down there. Move that aside so that I can get the airbox out of the way. Next I'm going to unplug the wire going to the mass airflow sensor. Tuck that out of the way. I'm going to take this clamp loose to pull the airbox up with this tube connected to it, because I want to get all that stuff out of my way. So I'm also going to unplug this and undo that wire because I don't want to pull that up with the airbox. Next I'm going to undo the clips from the airbox, lift it up and swing it out of the way with that wire connected, so it's all over there out of my way. Next I pull the airbox out of this side and I push the passenger side of it down to unlock it from the air scoop. Pull that up and out of there. Next I'm going to get a screwdriver and pop the cap off of the tensioner. So now I can get the bolt or tool on that tensioner and roll that serpentine belt loose so I can unwrap it from the alternator pulley. So you want to pay special close attention to how this serpentine belt wraps around through here, zigzags through here. You may even want to draw a diagram of it on a piece of paper so that you can get this back on correctly. So that's basically how my belt is routed. I'm going to go ahead and put a 14mm on the tensioner that says T and slide the belt off the alternator. Well, I have somewhat of a nightmare going on here. My tensioner is not taking tension off of the belt. It seems as if the bolt in the tensioner is stripping inside the tensioner instead of taking tensioner off the belt. That is going to be a problem. Alright, I have a major issue. My tensioner would not let enough tension off to get the belt off. So I had some help. I took it off a little bit. I pried a screwdriver under it and we pushed the belt off. Belt's not in the very best of shape. It's in good condition though. And that tensioner, I'm afraid that does need to be replaced. So I'm going to finish replacing the alternator, see if I could sneak that belt back on there. If not, we'll get a tensioner and replace it. Next, we got the connector on the back of the alternator. Get this down here where you can see that. This needs to be pulled aside and take those two screws loose. One of them looks like a 10, the other one might be a 12. If there's anything other than that, I'll mention it here. The lower nut was a 10, the upper nut was a 13. I removed them. I slid this rubber boot back on the wire harness and pulled the wires off of the alternator. Next, I'm going to take the dust cap off of that and pull that idler bolt out and remove the idler. That idler is in the way of the top bolt on the alternator. Next, I have the power steering reservoir, 2 bolts there. You got to take this loose, scoot it out of the way because your alternator lower bolt won't come out with that there. Next, I'm going to remove the 2 16mm bolts that hold the alternator in place. I got one here and I got one down there. They're 16mm. Go ahead and remove them and the alternator should slide up and out of there. I'm holding this back out of the way. Now with the idler off, you can get the top alternator bolt off, then remove the lower alternator bolt down there. I had to pull tension off of the tensioner to get that bolt out. Now, both bolts are out. Work the alternator up and out of the car. I had to pry the top of it out. I don't think I have to pry the bottom out. I just need to rock it out, being careful not to damage anything else. You can get some engine parts cleaner and clean that stuff up if you need to. You can also replace this tensioner if you have to. Figure out what bolts bolt that thing to the frame of the vehicle. Get that replaced. Now I'm going to lower this in place. Okay, I slid the new alternator in place. I aligned the lower hole with a screwdriver. I got the lower bolt in, got it started, several threads screwed in. Now I'm going to tap the top side down onto the bracket. Wow, this alternator is such a tight fit that I had to get this big screwdriver, put it close to the mount down there and tap it in so that I could get the screw hole aligned. I don't know why it's so tight, it just is. Now let me put the bolt through them, tighten these 2 alternator mounting bolts down. Again, I had to pull tension off the tensioner to get that bolt in. Top and bottom securing bolts are in, the wire connections are on, the dust cover is back on. Now I'm going to put this idler roller on up here with that 16mm, and then we're going to put the belt on. Alright, because our tensioner is bad, we had to get the belt on there. We had the tool in the tensioner. We had to pry screwdriver over this, and we had a pry bar on the screw to help the amount of tension that the tensioner could apply. So we got the belt on there. I put the 2 dust caps in. Next, I'm going to put the power steering pump bracket back together, and then I'm going to hook my airbox back on here. I have the box hooked back in. Now I'm going to secure this thing back in place. Then I'm going to put the top of the box on. I got the air intake tube on. Had to lubricate that one a little bit. The clamp was tight. I got that hose there connected. I got the mass airflow sensor connected. I put the seal in the housing. Then I clipped the mass airflow sensor to the housing. I got that 10 millimeter tight, that one tight. Sensor still plugged in. Now this filter box had a K&N filter. I had to put it in the lid and then attach the top to the lower part of the box because I could not get the lid on and secure with that K&N filter. It had a hard time fitting in the top. So now I'm going to go back, connect the battery, start the car, check the voltage. Alright, I'm about to crank it up. That didn't sound good. Try one more time. Well, the voltage is okay, but it sounds horrible. So I'm going to let it run a few minutes. If you feel that this information was useful, please like it and share it with your social media friends. You can subscribe to my channel so that you will get notifications of future videos that I post. You can follow me on Twitter, and if you need to contact me directly, please visit my website. And if you have any questions, leave them below, and someone or myself will reply to them. Again, thank you very much for watching.